Yes, and we are gathered at the board office this morning for Wake Up Wednesday, and today we have a interesting group of panelists, two, Garrett and Mila, and they are here to talk about all things insurance, and I am looking forward to asking them some pressing questions. But Garrett, give the audience a little introduction to you and where you work, how long you've been doing it.
Awesome. Thank you, Nanette. So I've been with Goosehead Insurance for the last 6 years, and I've been with insurance as a whole for the last decade. We're an independent brokerage, so we shop around. We work with several different companies.
Fabulous.
My name is Mila Robichaud, and I'm with Allstate. I've been with Allstate for almost, 2.5, maybe 3 years now, and then I've been doing insurance since 2016. So.
Yeah, the last couple years, you've got a lot thrown at you at once, haven't you?
Yes.
Well, I think that we all, there's a million questions I think that we could ask you via public, via agents, in terms of insurance quotes and everything right now. But can one of you give us just a summary kind of where currently our state in specific, where do we fit in the big scheme of things?
Right, so Nanette, like right now we're entering what's called a hard market. So in the previous years, it was pretty soft, which meant that we had a lot of different carrier options. A lot of companies wanted to do business with us here in Louisiana. And as we are transitioning to what's called a hard market, due to the hurricanes, due to the risk exposure, all those different items, a lot of companies, 32 companies to be exact, and last year pulled out of Louisiana. So that's caused the remaining companies to take on those policies. Therefore, their reinsurance programs and those kind of things are taking a huge hit. And it's making it super unaffordable, and a lot of companies are just as a whole stopping doing business in Louisiana.
And I think that's scary because I think people ultimately see their rates go up, or they're trying to buy or purchase new property, and the rates could or may very well likely throw them out of being able to purchase. Have y'all found that to be a lot of what's going on lately?
I think that a lot of the times we are seeing insurance pull people from the debt to income ratio. I've seen it happen a few times, and I think a lot of the misconceptions is that so a buyer will go in and get this large house at a much lower price, a really great price, but the house is large and it's old. Well, that's going to make the insurance skyrocket because it's based off of not how much you purchase it for, but how much Allstate or Goosehead, a company with Goosehead, has to rebuild it for. So yes, you may have bought it at $215, but if it's got 3,000 square feet, it just hasn't been updated. Well, we've got to rebuild a 3,000 square foot house. So it's
brand new
with brand new stuff. So it's going to be, the price will change, and then that's when I start to see, especially if it's an older house, because now you've got pipe burst is one of the major things that we see with older houses, and now that throws that person off the debt to income ratio, so we may have to start shopping a little bit lower than we normally do.
So it's not a tell-all be-all, but there has to be caveats to each transaction and ways that y'all can go around things or get things. But sometimes the deal is dead if the numbers just won't work out right, and that affects people.
Yes, ma'am.
Ultimately. So how has Louisiana, I know that we have been hearing about Donnelly giving us money. Can you explain in the insurance terms where that money went?
So they passed legislation where I forget how many millions of dollars it was, but it was like something like 35 the last I heard. And so that's not really helping us with like the new home purchase side of things. What you're seeing is a lot of these companies, all these policyholders are with Louisiana citizens. So that money is being given back to different insurance companies, and those insurance companies are assuming the risk from Louisiana citizens. So basically, Louisiana citizens is transferring the risk to State Farm or Allstate or whatever company it is that takes on these, and they're giving them that free money. So it's not really helping the premiums. It's not going to help your new home buyers. It's just going to offset Louisiana citizens.
And is that going to be, you feel, I know you don't know this for sure, but is that going to be a temporary or a long-term fix?
So it's, 35 million is only going to get you so far, so it's definitely a temporary fix in that regard.
The citizens' policies, are they to stay throughout the life of their entire, or usually they engulfed by another company later?
Citizens is coming here to stay, but you don't want to stay in Citizens. So for the most part, because it's the insurer of last resort.
Okay.
So it's always going to be by law at least 20% higher than the highest rate. So what we would want is you would go there, let's say you went to Citizens because you hadn't finished repairs yet and no one else could write you with all of these problems on your home. Then you would go to Citizens, and then once we can pull you out and the repairs are done, then you can come over to Allstate or Goosehead.
Which goes back to why I feel, and I know just for me as an agent too, the relationship, because I am not an insurance person. My clients are probably not insurance people. I think it's very important for people to be in the know, and I mean, obviously, since we've last talked, I think they've had laws even change. I mean, literally since we have had this last conversation. That affects our clients and our clientele, sometimes right in the middle of the deal, right? How could you, as agents, help the client to be able to price their insurance, their current insurance policy, and to see if your companies would be better for them?
So if you're talking about from the standpoint of a new purchase, I think it's really important that our lenders and our realtors have a great working relationship, whether it's Mila or myself, so that they can reach out to us so we can be proactive in looking at the house that the client's wanting to purchase. Because I mean, a lot of times a new roof can make a drastic difference in the premium, the size of the home, all these different aspects of it can affect what they can afford on that end. So if you have a good working relationship with me or Mila or whoever, and you trust us, like we are keeping, our job is to stay up to date on all the different changes and when something is gonna change. So just, I guess for us, it's, if you have that relationship, we're there to help you with it. We can say, okay, like maybe you need to look at a newer home. Like, okay, well, I can't afford a new home. Well, if the difference in the insurance is $300 a month, you could probably afford a much nicer, newer home.
So tell me this, in the big scheme of things, would you suggest for clients to insurance shop?
Yes, but I would suggest that they do the insurance shopping and not let someone else do it for them. And the reason why is you don't want someone else to shop your insurance. They have different interests than you do.
Right.
And you are the only one that can advocate for yourself. And you need to educate yourself. Most insurance agents, especially Garrett and I, we are always educating people as we're quoting. I'm explaining to them how to keep their premiums low, what these coverages are, how it benefits them, what they really should have if they, they'll come to me with quote, and tell me what they want. I'm like, okay, and let's talk about what you really should have. We'll get people coming in with state minimum liability limits for auto or something like that. $25,000 for property damage coverage. I hope you hit a go-kart.
Yeah.
Like that's all that's gonna cover.
Yes, exactly.
It's $1, maybe $1, probably more like 75 cents to go from 25,000 property coverage to 100,000. 75 cents in 6 months. So you're telling me you can't afford that? No, you can.
And that's taking a look at the entire portfolio. That being able to sit down with that client and say, okay, listen, what are you really needing for this? If it's a camp, it might be something else. If it's a home, it might be something else. I think people, because of the damage that we have been stricken with, I think they are asking way more questions than what they did, which I'm happy to see that. But, I think one of the biggest thing is you need to go to that agent. They need to explain all those endorsements.
I agree.
All of the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, those need to be explained. Not by me, not by you, but by the person that is going to be handling your insurance. And let's talk about claims. I think that the general public may not be aware of what exactly a claim for homeowners, but let's just talk about what is a homeowner insurance claim for, truly?
So I like to tell my customers that homeowners insurance is for devastations, not frustrations. We're not talking the small $500 claims or things that may be right at that deductible line. You don't want to file a claim to see if insurance will cover it. You want to make sure that this is a covered peril or a situation for your home. You don't want to call in to the claims office and be like, hey, I might have hail damage. There was a hailstorm. So let's just go ahead and file a claim to see if I have any damage. We're not the ones you want to see if you have any damage with. You want to call someone, maybe like a roofer or maybe, a contractor or a friend to go and check on that. You want to file a claim when it's above and beyond that deductible and it's a certain covered peril.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is like a record, right?
Right, it's an insurance score.
An insurance score. And so does it stay with the address? The home?
No,
So it goes with the person. So that can be on two sides of the coin. So there is a history on the property of claims that that person has made, but if that person sells and goes to house B and does the same thing, it follows them. And does their rate, or can their rate change based upon the claims that they have?
So there's a lot of different, I guess, aspects that go into determining what your insurance score is. So they're gonna look at your credit, even though it's not considered a hard pull, they're gonna look at that, because if you have poor credit, then you have a higher propensity to file a claim, for especially these little minute things. But also, if you're having a fire or anything like that, it's almost uninsurable. Liability claim on your, like if the dog bites her, you file any sort of liability claim, you're gonna be going to Citizens, which is the last resort company. So make sure you have that relationship again with your insurance agent. Says, like, people call me all the time, they'll ask like, hey, like we had this little hailstorm, should we file this? Hey, my roof is leaking, is it worth it? I'm like, okay, let's look at what you've had in the past, what you're planning on doing in the future, and then all these things are gonna affect you.
Because the claims that they have maybe made for flood just recently, or hurricane, or whatever, hail, or whatever, a locust, like we said, those are still pretty much attached or open. Some of them are open still, some of them are still in litigation or whatever, but they are still attached to that, right? To the person, to the claim or whatever.
For 5 years. Yeah.
For 5 years. Okay, that's it. I didn't know that. Okay, so when that, obviously it does affect the score when they go to either buy even to get a new policy on that property, right?
Yes,
It kind of follows your record.
Right, so like even if you have a $0 claim, like your company didn't pay out, it's still, when I go to do a quote for you, I'm gonna have to leave the $0 claim on, along with Laura, and if you filed a Delta claim. So now you have 3 and you're no longer eligible, and now it's Citizens for most companies, because 3 is the limit.
And so you don't get your new record started for every 5 years at scratch?
It's like a rolling.
Yeah,
thing.
so it like starts over.
So that one falls off, you may still have 3 or 4 left on.
Gotcha. Oh, from the claim itself.
Correct. So you have like the 2 hurricane claims, you had the flood claim, they had the freeze claim, and the hailstorm all in our area. So that in itself is making people not qualify.
Yes. Wow. Okay. And if I say qualify, they may, but it would be Citizens, and it would be at a higher, much
Astronomical.
higher, astronomical. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, and then about quotes. Let's talk about quotes for a second. So during the time that they are either wanting to purchase or whatever, how do they go about getting a quote?
So I would say, you're working with a realtor, you're working with a lender, do ask their expert opinion. Y'all are in the field every single day. Y'all see who, is working to make sure y'all's deals are closed, making sure that they're on time for your lenders. But also you see the people that are out there working, taking care of your clients, because that's gonna be a reflection of you. And unlike you, you're gonna be done with them at the end of this transaction unless they buy or sell again. These people are often with us for 10, 12, 13 years.
The life of their mortgage.
Yeah,
Right.
somebody, make sure it's somebody that they wanna work with and they enjoy visiting and that they're available.
That's true, especially during emergencies. I think that woke us all up.
So as far as their quotes though, they should be getting those quotes, they should be reaching out to us. If you're with if your realtor or lender trusts us, often people will call me and then I'll be like, hey, it looks like for your particular home, the age of the roof and those kind of things, I think Allstate with Milo would be a much better option. I'm looking at these quotes. I know from my experience that Allstate would be half this price. I'm gonna go ahead and connect you with her. I have all your information.
And that is so helpful, because for somebody like me who knows nothing about this business, and I'm at leisure to be able to at least go to my resources. But for people that they're just listening to other people or whatever, I think by y'all being able to explain the policy, but also saying, look, we may not be able to help you best. There might be another company that does that. You would think bigger companies may do, but sometimes smaller companies can work around things that the bigger companies can't. So that's helpful.
So I would say that's pretty unique about our particular area. Since we are a coastal region, we're a little bit different than like your Midwest and those areas where your big name companies are usually the only ways to go. Here, a lot of times you have like Cameron Parish, those kind of areas where, your bigger name companies don't want to write in that particular area. So again, like in that case, Milo may say, hey, call Garrett. He may have some coastal parish, carriers.
Because really, the industry as a whole, we need to keep it here. And so it does no good for us to have out-of-town companies that can kind of blow us all out the water. It helps to kind of work off of each other. I agree with that. How long does a typical quote take to get in with all the information?
It depends. So like, let's say I'm doing real estate, then I can usually get through the quote within like maybe at max 20 minutes, and that's them scrambling to find the stuff that they need, unless I send them an email like, hey, these are the things you'll need to go the quote, and we'll go faster. There are some carriers where it takes me, like for Northlight, at one point they were the only carrier that was taking on Cameron Parish, so it was taking at one point 14 days to get a quote back, because they went up by, I think it was like 400% in their consumers. It was, I mean, they had an unprecedented amount of people on post because there was nobody else. So now they're back down to 3 business days, thank goodness. But that's kind of where it is. If you are a higher risk, it's typically going to take me a little bit longer because I've got to send out an email to an underwriter who's going to go through it.
I mean, this isn't something that we just call and say, hey guys, look, I have a client, here's the address, can y'all quote me for insurance? That's how we make it sound, but I know that on the backside of these things, there are so many, I'm just talking with you today, I'm stumped because there are so many working parts that we don't know that happens. And so generally, having more information, both from the real estate agent, the client, the lender, having all of those blanks filled will help get a better quote.
Yeah, in your standard home, we can usually get those quotes back to you within an hour, 2 hours max. Again, that's the customer or the client answering the phone, the realtor being receptive. If I'm like, hey, you know, Zillow,
Looking for something, yeah.
especially, I mean, here at our association, they do a really good job of like putting the year built, but in Lafayette, Alexandria, I never know what year the house is built. You know, they never say anything about the roof age on there. And so,
Yeah,
like, I'm literally calling the realtor who, you know, a lot of times doesn't have
helpful.
that information handy. So it's,
So you're waiting on
Yeah.
information. So it's helpful to have all of that information present whenever you try to quote. I know that it's difficult for you guys because you're quoting flood and sometimes car and stuff like this. Okay, so guys, I think in culmination, before I let you tell us a last little bit about how people go about finding you, tell us what we as agents or even lay people can do to make your quoting easier, whether it be by a lender, or what information do you need to have an accurate quote, and what could lenders and agents out there that are listening, how could they be helpful in aiding this process?
So I'd say the biggest thing is just, since y'all are working with the client, y'all are the initial first base and first touch point that they have, and they trust you more than anybody at this stage. I'd say, you know, whether it's email or whether it's texting us in a group message, just connecting us all together. That way they understand who we are. There's no, like, we're not gonna build that rapport up front. And so they know that it's safe to give their personal information, it's safe to talk to us, it's safe, you know, and then also we have that relationship with you or the lender or whoever, and if we need additional information, we're all connected in, we're making it as seamless as possible. But beyond that, you know, if you are upfront with us and like connect us from the beginning, the clients are gonna be with us for probably, if we're lucky, the whole life of their loan. So, you know, as the different mortgages sell off, you know, they're not reaching out to you, the lender, or you, the realtor, saying, you know, my insurance didn't get paid. Well, because they didn't have a relationship with us. If you wait till the back end, if you do it up front, they're gonna call us and they're gonna be like, hey, like my mortgage company changed, what does this mean? Oh, just take a picture of that and send it to us and we can get that updated for you, make sure your payment is paid.
Awesome. And I guess that kind of builds on my next question. How important is having those relationships with your clients? I mean, during peril, do you want them to call your office? Do you want to hear about their story? Do you want to know how they're doing?
Absolutely. I mean, if you have a situation going on with your insurance, whether it's, should I file a claim? I filed a claim, but I don't feel like my adjuster is really advocating for me. I want to hear those things. I need to know, because I have the adjuster's name and phone number. I can call them right then and there, or I can go to the next person right over them. You know, your insurance agent is going to be advocating for you. You know, your insurance agent is just as part of a community as you are. You know, for Laura, you know, my house was destroyed just like anybody else's, and I'm gonna want, you know, you want the insurance agent who's gonna advocate for you just like they do for themselves. I always tell my customers that, you know, it's never going to hit you at the best time in your life. when Laura hit, you know, I just had twins. My husband was deployed, just left. I was like, it's never going to be a convenient time. It's going to catch you off guard, and it's going to be extremely difficult. So
Who do you want
Who do you
by
want
you
you?
during those
Yeah.
times?
because you need someone who's going to fight for you if you have to, if your claim goes awry, or you know, or you need help, or anything. There's a
It
lot
might
that
not
you can do.
be worth that $20 a month they're saving
Right.
to lose the relationship. And
Right.
I think that needs to be acknowledged. You know, sometimes it's the relationship in the long run is much better than a shortcut on price.
Hey, my name is Garrett Berry with Goosehead Insurance, and I'm super excited to have gotten to spend the day with y'all. If you need me or you need any questions or have anything that we can help you with, feel free to give me a call at 337-347-7022. Have a great day.
Hi, my name is Mila Robichaux, and I'm with Mila Robichaux Allstate Agency. I enjoyed spending the morning with y'all and really getting to just a little bit of information about insurance. But if you do need a quote or have any questions about your own policy, please give my office a call at 337-474-3500, or just look us up on Google. It's Mila Robichaux Allstate.